I got on this job. I specifically hired out to do the fabrication. I was there, maybe a week. Welding boss come out, told me roll my stuff out. We was going out on the line, on the main line out there. And I was like, oh no. I explained to him, I said, I'm no pipeline welder. I didn't even know what was going on out there. Never seen, a setup on a pipeline or nothing. Here I'm rolled up my truck here, scared to death. My other buddy, the only person I knew, he was still in the backyard. Here I was out here by myself. Finally, I said, I've had enough of this. I said, I'm going to go ahead. I can see the writing on the wall. I'm holding this whole show up. I said, I'm just going to go ahead and escort myself out here. I don't need to be here.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be interviewing a seasoned pipeline welder that I met while I was pipelining. His name is Peanut, or I should say he goes by Peanut. That's a nickname. His real name is Dwayne Hensley. He's from Southeast Oklahoma. He's been pipeline welding for about 24 years. He's been welding in general for about 34 years. As of right now, he is instructing at the welding school that I visited just about a month ago or so, American Welding Laboratories. If you're interested in that video, we will link it in the description below this video. I'm excited to have Peanut here today to share a little bit about himself and his story, how he got into welding, how he got into pipeline welding. If you yourself are interested in mobile welding or maybe pipeline welding yourself, you will want to check out our online trade school, arosswelding.school. We've got a couple of courses over there that are a great way to get welding experience if you're just now getting started. Maybe you don't have a welding rig yet, maybe you don't know where to start when it comes to your welding rig. We've got a course over there called the Quick Rig. It's got everything you need to know about putting together your first welding rig, just so you can get started. And for other helpful resources or tools that you may need for your welding rig, you'll want to check out our other website, arosswelding.com. If you got any questions, let me know down in the comments below. For now, grab your coffee, kick back, and enjoy the interview. Let's just jump right into it. How long have you been pipelining, Peanut? How long did you pipeline, or have you been pipelining?
I started probably pipelining around 2000.
2000. And how old are you right now?
54. I turned 54 the 25th of this month.
54, pipelining in 2000, so 24 years roughly. And how long did you work single hand before that?
10, 11 years. Well, I started in 90. 10 years. It'd be 10 years.
Yeah. So a good long while.
Yeah, 34 years.
Yeah. And go ahead and tell everybody that's watching what you're doing now and how long you're instructing, but how long you've been instructing.
I've been here at the American Welding Laboratories. I believe it started January or February, right there, end of January, 1st of February, I believe. But I taught in the 90s also at a VOTEC here at school. I taught the night program, the night adult pipe class. And that's probably late 90s then.
How did you get into welding to begin with?
I went to
did you go to what? You did go to VOTEC?
In high school.
And what was your junior and senior year you went to VOTEC?
Yeah.
What, did you weld on any pipe in VOTEC?
The last year we welded on pipe. The first year was, just structural. And the last 2 years we welded pipe. But I never did. My last year of school, we got a new instructor that year, and I skipped a lot that year. I was in high school, didn't know no different, wasn't thinking about working, just chasing girls and what have you.
Did you like your instructor your first year?
Yeah.
Was he a pretty good instructor?
Yeah, he was a very good instructor. He was really old school. It was just like going to work. Like when you literally, it was like going to work. It was a job. But he held several places in the state of Oklahoma. Poteau won a lot of years. They placed 2 times, and he had medals on the wall of the years, but it was hardcore. You was going to learn to weld if you liked it or not.
I want to back up though to what inspired you to take welding? Like, how did you get into welding? Like, what made you want to take welding?
What made me want to take welding was, to be honest with you, I didn't like school. And I knew I was more into FFA, outside stuff. I wasn't a sitting down in the class person. I hated it. I'd rather be out working with my hands. And I knew I could go weld and get out of sitting in a classroom for 3 hours. So I'd much rather do that. At that time, was I thinking about I'd ever be a welder? Never. I just went but I ended up going that way because that's what little I know. That was a little seed that was planted. I didn't know a seed was planted there at that time. You see what I'm saying? As I got older, I kind of looked and said, what am I going to do? And I was going to go to paint body school. I joined the National Guard. gonna go on GI Bill. Then I come home, been home a little bit, just had little average jobs. Then I got that first opportunity. I heard about a job that was going on down in Texarkana, and I called them. I didn't know up from down about welding pipe, and I went down there and I made it. I got a job.
How did you hear about that job though?
Probably my second year instructor. I'm sure it's through him.
So he just soon after high school, you had them odd jobs or whatever
Yeah.
average jobs you called them.
Yes, he helped us out a lot. Our second year instructor we had, he knew he had, contacts because he had been out working,
Yeah.
shutdowns and stuff before he came there. And so he had some connections and, he just helped us out and that's where I took off at.
So what was it? Do you remember what the test was on
Yeah,
your
it was
first job, that first
yeah,
single
I
hand
won't
job?
never forget it. Yeah, it was a 6 inch on an Arkansas bell hoe and a 2 inch stainless.
So 6 inch, was it 500 wall, 375 wall, 6 inch,
No,
or do you remember?
375 wall, yeah.
375 wall on 45.
Hmm.
That's Arkansas bell hole, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Uphill, downhill bead, uphill bead,
Uphill.
all of it
No, it's
uphill.
all uphill. Uphill, 5P plus. Well, matter of fact, I don't think it's 5P plus then. I think we're still using a red rod because they switched over to 5P plus, I believe, a few years after that. And I didn't know what it was, but it welded good.
Right. What was the stainless you said?
It was
What was
probably
that?
a 308 or something, a 2 inch stainless, heliarc all the way out.
2 inch stainless heliarc all the way out on a
It was
45
on
also.
45. Yes. Hmm.
And you was a nervous wreck, you said.
Oh, I was a nervous wreck. I couldn't even weld good. I come down there off that hill to the parking lot. I come down to the test shack. All I had in my hand was a chipping hammer and a welding hood. Didn't know no different, never been nowhere. Went down there scared to death. I was 3.5 hours from home, and I went down there and I told that QC that was testing, I was a nervous wreck. And I said, I'm a long ways from home. He said, son, he said, where you live at? And I told him, and I said, and that's 3 hours away. He kind of chuckled at me a little bit. But to me, I was halfway around the world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And by
Uh
myself.
yeah. And that takes a lot of courage to go by
Yeah,
yourself.
it
Did you
does.
did you know anybody on that job? Like
No.
at all? You didn't know nobody.
No,
No,
no, I've never
nobody
been
been.
out of my hometown, other than going to boot camp.
So what was your motivation for going to that job, that first welding job? Was it the money? I
Money.
mean,
Yeah,
it
money.
paid better than your average jobs around the house? And
That time, the minimum wage then was probably maybe $5 an hour, and they was paying 13, and I had the opportunity. I didn't mind working hard. It's just I wanted to make a dollar, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. Really, it's an
yeah,
accident.
so that would have been early 90s, is that right? Or before the
That would have
90s?
been it would have been 1990 exactly.
That's when I was born, Peanut.
Was it?
Huh?
Yeah, yeah, how that going?
So minimum wage, $5 an hour, and it was paying 13 for single hand. Do you remember,
Yeah.
was it per diem or no per
No,
diem
there
or?
wasn't no. I don't think I'd heard of per diem or nothing. We didn't get per diem. I don't believe much back them days.
I
There wasn't
don't
no
think
per diem.
I don't
It was
think
a,
I knew that.
there
I don't
was,
think I
I don't remember at that time, many jobs given at that area. It's probably 92 before I drew my first check on that side, getting per diem because it was just hourly. Then it got better. Then, like the tube welds, I welded some of them. That's the first job I got with per diem is welding boiler tubes. And we was getting, it was in Evadale, Texas on that power plant there at that paper mill. And we was getting per diem. That was the first time I'd got per diem, and we also was getting shop money on the tubes. I think it was like $20, and you and your partner had to split it. It's $10, or something like that.
if it
And
shot good,
yeah, if it shot
is
good,
that what you mean? If it shot good, you got
uh-huh.
an
Yeah,
extra
you got an
ten
extra
bucks a
twenty
weld.
dollars for two, but it's you and your partner did. You just 20. You'd split it 10 apiece. They just half it on the check. Then if you welded like any 6 inch and above steam pipe, you got $50 extra if it shot them like heavy wall chrome and stuff like that. So I was really kicking in the money. I thought right then on that job. That was a good one at the time.
So how old were you at that time, roughly? 20,
No,
18?
I was probably 23 then.
Okay. On your first, we're still talking about your first single hand job, right?
No, yeah, no, yeah, I was probably 22, right in there,
Okay.
23, somewhere in there.
What kind of, let's back up a little bit more. What kind of jobs did you have at home before you took that job? Do you remember a couple of them?
Oh yeah. We was raised me and my brother to work. We started at an early age. When I just turned 15, I'd been 15 a couple months. I heard there's hiring down there at a taco place washing dishes. And I lied and told them I was 16 years old. And I took and worked 38 hours a week and went to school full time. And I was in my ninth grade. And I've worked ever since throughout my life. And I worked at a couple restaurants, you know, in school. Then when I turned 16, I got a job at a full service filling station, gas station. And I pumped gas, changed oil, fixed flats. And I'd done that till I got out of high school. Then I had some little audits and ends jobs. I'd worked, they built a power plant here pretty close to where I live. And I took and done labor work on it, just tearing the concrete forms down and stuff like that. And then after that, the union took over that project, and I went in as a Boilermaker apprentice. Didn't even know what a Boilermaker was, had no clue, but I was going because they was paying money. I was moving on. Then after
And that
that,
was,
I'd got in the pipe business, about a year or so after that.
hold on. So that job that got taken over by the union, was that before the job in Texas?
Yeah,
This is before
this is right after I got out of high school.
but you weren't welding at that job at home? That
No, I've done some structural welding, but no pipe welding.
okay, 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 okay.
When
Um,
I got in with the Boilermakers, as an apprentice, that I welded structural then, yes, but no pipe.
gotcha. Right,
I
right,
went in a good structural welder, even when I went and took my pipe test, but I didn't know no different.
right. All right. So and the minimum wage at all them jobs were, you remember, like around $5 an hour?
Yeah, but like
Probably at the
at that time, but at uh, the job with the Boilermakers and apprenticeship, I was doing that. I was probably making $8 or $9. You see what I'm saying? It was
yeah,
quite a bit
yeah.
better than the minimum wage.
Right. But I mean the food restaurants, the taco place, the
Oh yeah,
service.
they was 335. I know that
Oh
for a
wow.
fact.
Wow. Wow, wow. You got a, what's your brother's name? Uh
Lester,
Lester. What's he
yeah,
doing anyway?
he's still out there burning welding rods.
Is he older or younger than you?
He's younger. He's 2 years younger.
Okay, interesting. Me and Rodney are 2 years apart, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, he's still driving that Dodge. He probably got a new one since
No,
I seen
he's got a Ford now.
him. Okay.
He's had it for a few years.
Okay, back on track here. Okay, so you got, do you remember anybody recommending you to welding school? Or were you
No,
just in high school, didn't like school, and you just knew that you could take welding and get out of school?
yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
nobody
it.
really. Did your brother go to
No,
Poteau? Did your
yeah, he
brother
went
go to
off
Poteau?
though. Hmm. See, I kind of got started when I got started. Then I kind of helped him and his class, some of the boys in his class get started, and that's how it kind of got going around here. And then the kids at the school seen this, we was all about the same age, and we just helped each other get a job. And several of us come out, because it was an opportunity for an average person to make a dollar.
Yeah,
It's the most
yeah.
money any of us had ever seen. At the time for it's, but is the best I knew for the money.
Right, right. And I don't know what your hometown's like, but I mean, I've worked with other pipeline welders from like well, Bald Knob is a big one you hear about, but like
Yeah.
other parts of Louisiana where there just wasn't much where they lived. So it was just like it made sense because it was more, and where they lived there wasn't there wasn't much to be had for jobs anyway. So is it like that where you're from,
Yeah.
or
Yes, we don't have much industry right here. I mean, compared to, like down on the coast or out in West Texas, there's nothing really here.
yeah, it definitely wasn't back then, I'm sure. I
Uh,
mean,
uh-uh.
before we get into your pipeline, how you got into pipeline, do you know how many states you've worked in? Have you ever thought about that? Single hand or pipeline, like traveling.
Yeah,
Have you ever
I,
counted?
I hadn't really never sit down and count them.
over?
I've been to a lot of them, but I haven't really been a lot on the northeast side or northwest. I've went up a little bit in the northwest, but not just way up there.
So in the between 7 and 8 years that I was pipelining, I figured it up. But well, this was even before I stopped pipelining. So I'm just trying to give you maybe an idea
Yeah.
because about 3 times as long as I was traveling. Just in the 7 years or less, I worked in like I think 7 different states, and I counted up over 20. It was like 22 or something oil and gas companies. So
Yeah.
knowing that, how much do you think? How many oil companies do you think you worked for?
Oil companies?
Yeah, oil and gas, or I mean,
Yeah.
mostly oil and gas or refinery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like tested for.
Oh, I thought about that too. It's been I've took hundreds of tests. I mean, hey, there was one year, probably the first year, maybe the second year, I had 13 W-2 forms. I
Holy
mean,
cow!
but I was young and it wasn't for the money then. I had a free ticket to go anywhere in the United States. Then I wanted to go places and I'd go and work, make me a little money and get tired. And heck, I'd go to California. I went to LA. It was 2 weeks after the Rodney King riots, right there where he's at. I'd never been out there.
Holy, yeah. So
So I
okay.
took a lot of tests, I don't know.
Well, it's fun. What do you, this was not a question that I sent you before, but I thought about later. Do you think, since we're talking about that aspect of it, why do you think pipelining or even traveling in general for welding is so addicting? But specifically pipeline, Peanut, I know you can relate to what I'm talking about. Like, why is pipelining so like addicting, I should say?
I think it's for this reason here. It's for people that likes being outside, just a lot of country people, blue collared people, and you're out there living together. Where you go is the people you're living with, if you like it or not, and you see how everybody comes together. It don't matter birthdays, if someone gets hurt or something at home. I've seen probably in my life, that's probably some of the most truest people that that I've been around. You're living together, you have to take care of each other. I mean, you're all you have is each other.
Yeah.
And there's a bond there that grows after you live like that with people that it's just indescribable to me. I guess
So
I can
that,
trust strangers. It's a way I could say what little I know about somebody, I could put a lot of trust in the majority of the people.
say it
You see
again.
what I believe it's because the honesty of just the people. I guess I trust them because I feel like I'm part of them. It's just kind of hard to describe.
Yeah, but
You know what
I'm
I'm
with you.
saying?
Yeah, no, I'm picking up what you're laying down for sure. I hope the viewers are. I've told people that one of the like 2 or 3 reasons for me, one of the biggest ones was the people, was the camaraderie, was the
Yeah.
but it's kind of what I'm hearing you say, not the same way, but I mean
Well, here's
like
a good
the
example.
people.
How
Yeah,
many times have you seen somebody's welding rig broke down over there, and there's 8 welders over up underneath it at 11 o'clock at night trying to get the boy fixed up so we can go to work tomorrow? That's what I'm
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, 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 yeah. You feel right at home no matter where you're at because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That and just the work and the competitiveness of it. I'm a competitive person, and it is competitive.
yeah.
Out there welding, you don't want to be last. I don't, and it's just fun and just the cutting up. It's like a bunch of kids out there. We're having a good time. We're working very hard. But we're having a good time. We know how to make the best out of the worst. If you're wading
Uh,
mud out there, eat. You can throw a dirt pot over and hit somebody and make everybody laugh. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, oh yeah. I wished I could have worked with you more. I know that.
Yeah.
Um, but no, yeah, I definitely like one of the reasons I got to where how I chose to go to jobs was because of the people that were on that job.
Mm-hmm.
And I do you can relate to that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Versus like, early on you were chasing the money, chasing the new place
Right.
to go, but at some point you start going because of who's there, because you
Exactly.
get more of that vibe, you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
fun vibe,
Yeah. You can take
hanging
your
out.
friends. Yeah. You know who to go run with, and where you're gonna have a good time and your buddies are at.
Yeah. Real quick, how did you get the name Peanut? If you don't mind sharing.
No, no, I don't mind. That first job I worked on in Texarkana, I had a pipe fitter, and his nickname was Nuts. And a lot of people out there know who Nuts is. He's a good pipe fitter, and I don't know if he's still pipe fitting or not. And I guess he just started calling me that, and he nicknamed me that. And after I left that job, I seen people that I knew, and everybody just kept calling me, Peanut, and it just kept. In all these years, a lot of people don't even know my real name.
I didn't for the longest time.
Yeah.
There's another Peanut that used to pipeline it. Did you ever hear or know of another Peanut?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was just saying, is the Peanut that you know, the other Peanut you know, is his real name Kelly, or do you know what his real
Yeah.
name is? Okay.
Mm-hmm. His last. His last name.
Oh, okay. I definitely, if I've
Your
met him,
brother.
it's
Your
only been
brother
like,
knows. Your brother knows
yeah,
him.
yeah, I know Rodney knows him. Whenever I've met you, because I think I met him before I met you, I saved you in my phone as Peanut the original
Oh,
because I assumed that you were before you were older than he was. So I was like,
yeah.
this is the original
Yeah.
because my brother talked about, you know,
Yeah.
the other pipeliners that he worked with, and so
Mm-hmm.
whenever I finally met you, I was like, Peanut the original.
Yeah.
But so okay. All right, so just a nickname that just
Yeah. Just
that somebody gave you. You said it was on which job? One of your first jobs, or
that in Texarkana, it was my first job.
okay.
And
Wow, okay.
he kind of I didn't know what was going on. He kind of took care of me. He helped me and took care of me. I'd never been on a construction site, like that. In a paper mill. I'd worked on this firehouse, but that's a little bit bigger deal than that firehouse. And he kind of showed me the ropes, helped me
Right,
out,
right.
taught me how to fit. He helped me learn how to fit, take measurements.
Okay, so you worked roughly 10 years single hand. How did you get your first pipeline job?
Well, in between single-handed and switching over to pipeline, at that time I switched over and I was running a truck in plants wherever I could work it. And I was still doing uphill and hilliard work,
But running your truck.
but running my truck. I couldn't downhill at this time, but I could just work doing what I'd learned in the plants, no pipeline whatsoever.
Right.
Uh, and I finally got on a few jobs I could downhill a little bit. The beads to practice on them, but it just took me a long time to really be confident, really to be where I could downhill to be decent enough at it, and I just tried to stay on the plant side of it. Well, that didn't work. I finally needed a job and couldn't get a plant job, and I could downhill a little bit. I could fab. I could not work on a pipeline. I could do the fab work, and I slow and couldn't run 3/16 rod, but I could run a 532 and pass test, with it. And I could
Yeah, sure.
weld, but I wasn't really a good downhill welder yet. And I got on this job. I specifically hired out to do the fabrication. I was there, maybe a week. Welding boss come out, told me roll my stuff out. Was going out on the line, on the main line out there, and I was like, oh no. I explained to him. I said, I'm no pipeline welder. And anyhow, I still had to go. I didn't even know what was going on out there. Never seen, a setup on a pipeline or nothing. Here I'm rolled up my truck here, scared to death. My other buddy, the only person I knew, he was still in the pipe yard. Here I was out here by myself again. And anyhow, he showed me. He said, "I'm gonna show you how this works." We watched the setup, and I said, "Well, there ain't nothing to this." I said, "Let's rock and roll." Well, first setup, everybody was waiting on me. I had a big old cap on that thing, a big old fabrication cap on there, and everybody was waiting on me, and it made me all nervous, and I slowed. Second one, I tried to get a little faster, turned it up, and it was horrible. The inspector come and got me, made me go back there and fix it. Then he tried to help me, and thin them welds down a little bit. They was all waiting on me, for a long time. Finally, I said, I've had enough of this. I said, I'm going to go ahead. I can see the writing on the wall. I'm holding this whole show up. I said, I'm just going to go ahead and escort myself out here. I don't need to be here. Anyhow, that welding boss told me, I told him, I said, I'm gonna have to go. I said, I'm just holding y'all up. I mean, it is what it is, I ain't gonna, it is what it is. He said, no, I need you to stay. He said, you're helping us. And I said, well, I'm holding you up. I said, I'll stay on one stipulation. Leave me about 2 or 3 welds out and y'all carry on mule training. And when I get done, y'all just leave me 3 more. And I done that for a day. Second day, I was right in there bumping heads with them, calm down a little bit, kind of seeing what's going on. And that's how it started. I
So,
loved it. Thought it was the neatest thing.
so he agreed with that. He
Huh?
said,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so the welding boss said, yeah, that's fine. We'll do that. We'll leave you
Yeah.
3 and you can just stay
Yeah.
back there. And
Yeah.
I think that's really cool that he allowed that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, a lot of guys that wouldn't do that. And
Oh, no, no, no.
maybe today on some jobs, but like
You're
in
right.
your time, back when you were first starting, there's a lot of guys that wouldn't have done that. You've worked
No,
for guys that wouldn't put up with that nowadays, is what I'm saying.
right, exactly.
So
Yeah,
that's
I
really
was very
cool.
lucky. And everybody,
Um,
I think in this field, and that's what I tell all the students there, is everybody's going to get their chance. Just be ready and take that opportunity and don't let it go by because you don't get very many chances like that in life. And take the opportunities, we all get chances, but we need to recognize it. Don't let them go by, guys.
sure, sure. It's so true. It's so true. And the good attitude obviously goes a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Because like just the fact that you were like firing yourself, you were like, I'm
Yeah.
out of here. Like I'm not doing you any
Yeah.
good. Like I'm leaving. Like that
Yeah.
just shows humbleness and shows that like you weren't arrogant. You weren't trying to blame it
Right.
on nobody else. You were just
Right.
like, dude, I can't do it. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing you more harm than good. I'm getting out of here.
Exactly.
I'm going back to the fab yard. I'm not ready
Yeah.
for this.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just saying that shows that humbleness. And so I'm just saying
Yeah.
the fact that you had that attitude, I bet was a lot of the reason. He
Yes.
was
And,
like,
I think that attitude, like you said, it will give you opportunities, being honest and humble. Because if you're opposite of that and got an attitude and what have you, most people won't help you. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right. No, no,
So,
usually not. Yeah, yeah. So that attitude goes a long way, I know for
yes,
sure.
it
But
does. Hmm.
like you said, noticing those opportunities are
Yeah.
and being ready for them, like what you're
Yeah.
getting them guys ready. You're getting them guys ready. That's part of
Yeah.
them
Uh-huh.
getting ready. Okay, so what did you meet somebody in the plant in one of the single hand jobs that led you to that pipeline job? Or
No.
like, how sometimes you meet people on certain jobs and it just ends up, you know what I mean? How did you hear about
Yeah.
the pipeline job, your first pipeline gig? Even though it was fabrication, right? It was
I don't, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I had numbers to people that worked in plants, and some of the, plants was downhill. And, I got on some of them or what have you, downhill a little on them. But it was just numbers I called, and I just had to deal with what I had, at the time. There wasn't a lot of work really back when I started, not like as there is now. And you just had to either try or don't go, you know?
so so it may have been literally just a number that you got and
Yeah.
you needed a job. So a cold call is what I
Yeah.
would, because
Yeah.
I know
When times got hard, I'd call anything that had to do with welding. It didn't matter. And it was just probably one of those, deals that happened like that. It was by accident, I promise you. I just didn't go running through the pipeline. I tried to stay away from it because I didn't have nobody to show me how to downhill. I
right,
never,
right,
it was just what I was seeing in the plants and stuff like that. I kind of learned opposite from everybody else, you know. That was the
right.
last thing I learned.
Well, I've met a lot of guys like yourself that's been doing it, 3 times or more longer than me.
Yeah,
And a lot of guys the same way. I mean, yeah, it was different back then. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
y'all had to, it was just different back then, way different
right.
as far as the drive and motivation. Like it wasn't all about got a pipeline or got a weld pipe. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
wasn't like
no.
that back then. It was
It
just
was for
y'all
the
were,
money.
yeah,
We was after the money. It was like a big deal when one of your buddies over here, like on a double time job back then, single hand. That's like a big deal. That guy's making big bucks.
yeah,
We're all
yeah.
just trying to make all the money we could, and we thought we was getting rich, thought I was gonna get rich. I thought this was it.
All right.
When you
Um,
go from making nothing, to get to make more money than the average person, it just, I just had to work. I just had a drive for working and making money. I just really a hobby of working.
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, I genuinely love like talking to pipeliners like yourself
Mhm.
and knowing where you got started. Like I genuinely love it and I get on a roll, but and I think it's something that I want to ask. And then while we're finishing up our conversation, I'm like, oh shoot, what was I gonna ask? So I was
Yeah.
trying to follow that trail, but then when I forget it, I have to like get back in that zone or I have to look at my notepad and just think of
Uh-huh.
a totally new question. But because I genuinely love hearing about it, man, just because it was a different world. I literally like there's something about it that I think I feel that this generation needs to hear how it used to be because I think it's very grounding because of just the world we're in today. Like I was lucky enough to be like right in between. Like whenever I think I got my first iPhone when I was 20. So like you can see that I mean that was just whenever iPhones were coming out.
Yeah.
That wasn't like what I'm getting at is I was raised in old school fashion. I didn't have social media when I was raised, but right whenever I was 20, right when I started pipelining, you know, social media started ticking up. So I've had a little of both is what I'm saying. So I respect the older generation. I respect how it was back then. I see a lot of value in how it was. So one of the reasons that I want to start interviewing pipeline welders like yourself, mostly pipeline welders, but I mean I would even interview like mobile rig welders and
Mm-hmm.
like business owners too. But I really for some reason I just really connect with pipeline welders. But and what's all behind that? Because already what you've told me, it didn't start. It wasn't a pipeline dream. You know what I mean? It wasn't. So that's what's so cool to me. Nowadays, people are starting, myself included. Like I mean, at 20 years old, there was Price Gregory had a job. I would have been. They laid like I don't know if it's 36 cents or something here around Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And it would have been 07 or 08 or maybe '06 or '07, somewhere in there, because I don't think I had graduated yet. But me and my buddy seen the welding trucks, and we were like, "That's what we want to do." You know what I mean? So like, I'm just saying, I have a little bit of this newer generation where like we seen a truck and like, "Oh, we would love to pipeline weld." You know what I mean? As to
Yeah.
where you guys, some of you didn't even have that. Like it didn't stem from that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's why I'm so intrigued by it because it's
Yeah.
more authentic. It's more
Yeah.
authentic
Yes, it
than
was just
my
mainly for
generation.
a job, no different than going, to be a lawyer or something else. I just wasn't the college kind, and I just went that way. And I said, "Hey, these people's making some money. I'm gonna come check this out." And that's what kind of led me, that direction.
Right. I remember my question now. What was your first welding rig?
There's a '73 model Chevrolet with a 350 and a granny four-speed.
73
Chevrolet,
Chevy,
yeah,
Chevrolet Dually,
one, uh-huh, yeah,
Dually, single cab,
yeah.
4 speed, or is that 3 speed? You say granny. Is that a,
It, it's a four-speed, low was real, real low. So they call them, I
yeah,
guess, granny four-speed.
yeah. What color was it?
It was silver and white.
So 73 Chevy, silver and white, single cab Dually, 2-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's two-wheel drive. Yeah,
You got to have pictures of that, Paynut. You don't?
I don't think I do. Hey, I had a 40-foot, my first trailer I bought, and I pulled it with that truck. That truck wasn't running. I doubt it'd run 60 miles an hour, be truth with you. Hey, I went and bought a 40-foot Teton with two flip outs. There wasn't no slides, there's flip outs. And it's a tongue pull. Hey, I pulled that thing up to Kansas, El Dorado, Kansas, up there. And that was first time I pulled it, and the last time. Hey, the fastest it would go was about 45, maybe 50 over there on the Cimarron Turnpike going up down them deals.
Heavy. Trailers were heavier back then, and the trucks didn't
Oh
pull as good back
yeah,
then.
no,
Teton,
yeah, it's a Teton. I bought it used out of the newspaper.
what year model roughly?
Oh, I don't know. It was probably
Your truck was a what? 73?
73. Uh-huh. But it was old. I took and worked on that truck for a couple of years before I took and I rigged it out. See, it was an older truck, and I took 2 years of my single hand money, what I had extra, and put into that. I didn't go buy no new trucks or weld machines. Found a weld machine in the back of a guy had a tow truck underneath a tree, a big oak tree. It had been sitting out there a long time, and I ended up buying that off him. I just looked around, over the couple years, and bought my stuff.
What was
Bought
your
my
weld
tools.
machine?
It is, I believe, a '63 SA 200.
63. Do you remember what you gave for your weld machine and truck back then?
I think now I bought my truck, and I believe I probably did like $2,000. It was used, That I bought off my welding instructor at the school. He had painted it, he had started it, and then I done a little work to it. So it's mainly about done. And my machine, if I'm not mistaken, I give like $750 for it, because I remember when I went to buy that machine, he told me, he said, son, he said, I'm gonna have to have $750 for that machine. And I believe it was 750, because I was like, holy smoke, I can't believe he's gonna sell that machine that cheap. And I asked him, I said, "Would you wait a little bit and I'll be right back?" And I went home, got some money, might have been from mom and dad. I come up with $750. And I went back and bought that weld machine. He got a
Did you
deal and I got a deal.
did you fire it up and weld with it before you bought it, or did you at least
Yeah.
fire it up?
Uh-huh. It needed
Uh,
work, little stuff like, but it was a deal to me, and I worked on it and used it for several years.
don't you still run a 200 today,
I
or
have a
no?
200. I run a 300. I've mainly run 300s the last 15 years, 10, 15 years.
What do you mean, 300D, or what do you?
300D, yeah.
I
I
don't know
bought a
if I
three.
knew that.
Yeah, when I was seeing you, I had a 200 on there, but I usually use a 300D. I bought my first 300D in 2007. No, 2000, maybe five, somewhere around there, something like that. I had a decent machine. Then I remember around '07, I bought the one I have now.
But you've always kept a 200.
Yeah, I always
No?
keep 200.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Spare,
yeah.
fun to
I got
weld with.
Yeah, I take it out. Yeah, I like to pull it out every now and again. They're fun welding with. It's a lot easier, it seems like. Capping, you can sit there and play with it a little longer. Then I got
Um,
another one out there, and I'll eventually chop it and redo it. I like tinkering with them, and just like most of us do.
yeah. What were you driving to and from your single hand jobs before you got the 73 Chevy?
Oh, I had several vehicles. I had a '72 long bed truck, and I believe we had a Camaro at that time. I had a 1990 Camaro. We bought a Camaro. I think that's the first new car we bought. I drove it.
1990
Uh-huh.
Camaro? New,
Yeah,
you bought it new?
yeah. But I didn't have money. I didn't have cash. But I mean, it's new. I had to
Yeah.
finance it.
Right. But you had a what year long bed?
A '72
72
Chevy.
Chevy?
Yeah, long bed. Yeah, air conditioner worked in it and everything. I still wish I had that truck.
72,
This is a just half ton long bed truck.
what color was it?
It was black with the white stripe down the middle.
White
Down the
stripe?
side. Huh? Yeah, it's white. It's black and had the white stripe like the old Silverados used to kind of have.
That's a good looking truck. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. I think 70 that was still the round headlights, wasn't it? Or
I can't. I don't know. 70. That was 72. I don't know. I think they're still round. Yeah, that's all round. I believe. I don't remember when they changed.
anyway, man, that's cool. Okay, so you just bebopped up and down all over the country. How far away did you travel single hand welding? I mean, did you go
Uh,
14 hours? Did you go 20, or was it mostly four
I
and
mainly
five,
stay.
6?
Yeah, I usually stayed. I was usually 8 hours. I'd stay around Louisiana, Texas, and I didn't work much back then. They didn't in Oklahoma. There's a little bit of powerhouses or something come up. It's mainly Louisiana and Texas.
But you drove. They didn't have crews in that. Like
Huh?
that's what you remember driving around was that 72 Chevy to single
I
hand
took it.
jobs?
Yeah, I took it to West Virginia one time even.
Was there any crews in that? They did.
I don't
Did it
think it
have
had
crews?
in mine. I don't think it did. I don't use it hardly cruise control anyhow. Still to this day.
What I was getting ready to say was I'm noticing a Chevy trend here because you have a
Yeah.
Chevy today.
Oh yeah.
How
Yeah.
long have you had? How long have you had that? What year is your red welding truck
It's a
today?
'06. Oh
Oh,
six, and I bought it in '07.
and how many miles is on it now?
I think 273,000. I mean, not really for a lot for its age, really.
Right, right. But you obviously take very good
Oh,
care of
yeah.
it.
I take care of it because it costs so much to replace it. I've
Yeah,
had to put the new seats in. I put nice stuff in it when I buy and fix stuff, try to keep it up. It's just, they're too expensive. And I haven't priced even a diesel, but I can't even imagine. But, you got to burn that many welding rods to break even. And,
yeah.
you got
Oh
to
yeah.
think about that.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so after you got on your first pipeline job, how long was that first pipeline job, downhill job, pipeline? How long were you on it?
It wasn't very long. Maybe I might have been on it maybe a month. It was a small job.
Oh wow.
But I
What did
left
you
that job. I ended up leaving that job, dragging that job up to go work for another job, you know,
really?
just to go, yeah, because another job, that one was about done. I mean, so they let me, it was a good deal. They let me I went and talked to them and just went over there to another job because it's, starting. Because it gets tough, juggling them jobs when you're trying to stay busy sometimes. You
Oh,
miss
for
this
sure, yeah.
one,
Yeah, yeah.
you just
So
want to
you
do
left
it.
on good terms, is what you're saying. You
Right. Oh,
just
yeah.
everybody knew it was coming to an end. You had another
Yeah. It's
opportunity.
coming to an end.
Right. What where was I didn't ask, where was that first pipeline job?
It was in Kansas, Garden City, Kansas.
What town?
Garden City, Kansas.
Garden City. Did you stay in a hotel?
No, I had a trailer at that time.
Oh, you had the you told me you had the is that what you drove to that first job? Was that Teton?
No, this year, I bought my Teton, and we was living in this time. I moved it. I moved it one time, and that was our home for several years.
Oh, okay. Right on. Did you have a girlfriend, wife, or anything back then?
Yeah, I had a wife. I got married in 1990, and they traveled with me until my boy got to school, and then they stayed home, and I went by myself after that the rest of the years.
Hold on. I didn't know how many kids you got.
I, one boy.
How old is he?
He'll be 33 on the 7th this July.
What does he do?
He's an X-ray technician in a hospital.
I'll be. I
He
don't know
does.
if I
He does that, and right now, what he does X-rays, but he's got a mobile truck he takes to the hospitals, and I guess sets it up and busts kidney stones. He goes
wow.
hospital to hospitals doing that.
Oh wow. Wow. Anyway, side note, I didn't know that. That's
Yep.
cool. So over the years of you pipeline welding, how many, that's a new question. What ratio of times do you think you got laid off versus how many times you drug up, whether it was on good terms or not, just like dragging up to go to a better opportunity on good terms or bad terms, or got laid off? What's the ratio, do you think?
Oh, I probably drug more up than I did quick finish.
Right,
I,
right,
I
okay.
mean, I don't know. I can't really. No, I don't know. Probably about half and half, maybe. I
You,
don't.
I mean, you remember getting laid off a fair amount too, probably.
Oh yeah. I
Even,
mean, but I've
even
quit a
at,
bunch of them.
but even asking for a layoff, I'm sure. I know you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like ready for a layoff.
yeah,
You know the end's coming. Like here, lay me off. I
yeah,
got an opportunity. Because that's
yeah.
like sometimes that's not a drag up. That's like you know what I
Right.
mean. Like I got another
Yeah.
opportunity. They lay you off. You know what I mean?
I'd probably say then something like that. Probably just as dragging up. Probably. I probably drug up probably 20% of my jobs in my life. It's when I was mainly younger. Now the pipeline side, I didn't do it quite as much, but I still did, quite a
Sure,
bit. Not like a single hand work.
sure, sure. What if you have any regrets over dragging up? What's one of the is there an instant, a situation, a job that you remember dragging up on that you regretted, like worse, like for me, for instance, one I remember dragging up from Bob McCurry, you know who he is. I was
Yeah.
dragged up on him one time and I didn't know it at the time, but as I've had this YouTube channel and I've looked back, I regret that because of Bob showed me how to run beads on 12-inch 188 wall. He showed
Yeah.
me how to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. Like I had been on 375 wall and that was it. And he put me up there running beads and I didn't know how to do it and he showed me and I had an arrogant attitude because he didn't pay enough and I drove up on it and I've regretted that looking back because of the opportunity that I had to weld on to run beads for starters, but also have the opportunity to get experience running beads. Like that was not everybody gets that opportunity, and you know what I mean? I threw it away. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if there's a situation that you ever can look back on and think like, man, you know what I mean? I'm not saying I would change anything about my life because I believe it's led me to where I'm supposed
Right.
to be. I've learned a lot from it, but I'm just saying that's one of the things that I realized that like maybe I don't regret it, but I'm like I see what I missed out on by doing that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I don't think there's nothing really in particular one I drug up on that I regret. I mean, bad. Uh, I never left. I mean, I never. I don't know how to say it. I don't feel like I really done anybody wrong when I left. Some of the jobs, but there is regrets in some of because I did leave some of them for the reasons I shouldn't have. I should have stayed and finished or what have you. And my attitude, I had the arrogance, and all of us has it to a point,
Sure,
especially being younger. That yeah,
sure.
probably some I drug up over being arrogant. Yes, growing up, you just it's part of a learning lesson. I wasn't really that type. I've never been an arrogant type. I don't consider myself that way, but maybe my actions might have been that way. You see what I'm saying? I
I
should have.
do.
I bit
Yeah.
off a little more than I should have.
Right, right. Right. What's your favorite stinger?
T300s.
T300. Do you modify
I like.
yours at all?
No, not really. I just
You know,
pull the handle down on it, get a little tighter. Hold the jaws, just hold the rod better, and that's really about it. I like the T300s, especially running beads. But usually when I test, I'll use one of those newer ones, the V stingers, I guess, or they've been out a few years. And I do that usually when I test. And the one I got was gift to me, and it's wore out. But you know how it is when you're testing, when them rods, when you're welding, pops out the side and give you arc burn. So I usually use a T300 to test with. But I like both of them. But I mean, the V Stinger to test with, and the T300 is usually what I weld with.
yeah. Okay. How much, what size of welding lead and how much of it do you run on each one?
I believe I believe I got odd on mine. I believe I might have one. I don't know what I got on it. Can't remember what size. I mean, I don't know the size diameter. I can't remember. But I got 100 foot of the hot lead, and I got 100 foot of ground. Maybe a little more on the hot side, 125, something like that.
Right, right. What was your favorite pipeline job and why?
I don't know. I thought about that. I don't guess I really have one particular pipeline that I've got just overall, they've all been good to me. I mean, I really don't have a favorite.
Location you worked in? You didn't like what was one of the favorite places you've been? Not for the
I,
job, but for the location. You never been there. Single hand pipeline, any of it. What was your favorite location?
I went to St. Croix and worked at St. Croix one year.
Where?
St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Where's that? Virgin Islands?
Yes, down by Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yeah, that was in the '90s. Also, we went down there and worked. We welded on the that used to be the biggest oil refinery in the Western Hemisphere. Is what I was told. Is the Hess Oil Refinery. It's there on that island, but I've heard it's shut down now.
So you had to fly or take a boat?
We flew.
How long did that job last?
That lasted. The job itself probably lasted a couple of years, but I wasn't there. But it's probably 3 months.
That's what I meant. How long was your part?
It was about
Or
3 months, probably 3 months. I just
flew
wanted to
out?
go and just kind of see the place. There wasn't a lot going on at the time, and it's winter time. And I said, had the opportunity and said, why not go? Free vacation, lived in a man camp, everything paid. So I went up there and worked there for 3 months till it got warm anyhow.
Back to the drag up topic. What do you think? I say the drag up topic. Well, I guess it is about that topic, but let me just ask directly what I got wrote down. What do you think pipeline contractors could stand to improve on as far as how they run their business? In my opinion, it starts from the top essentially, however you look at it. If you got a good, contractor, hires a good superintendent, hires a good welding boss as well as all the other foremen, string and crew, bend and crew, you know what I mean? You hire all the foremen, like But if you got a good, business owner, a good contractor, and a good superintendent, so I'm just wondering from your experience, well, let me just ask you this, before we ask that, how has pipeline changed from whenever you started pipeline until 2024 today?
A
Like
lot
what's
of a lot of the safety, the safety's changed, more strict, just more rules in general, really. You was allowed to get by with more back then. I had a helper that helped me. He was my cousin. He helped me in 2000. He wore a cowboy hat out there, pair of glasses, out there buffing welds with me then. And now, you ain't gonna get by with nothing like that.
right? Did you ever, by the way, did you ever meet Joe Brown? Did you ever know a welder named Joe Brown from
I've,
East Texas?
I've heard of him, but I don't know if I've ever welded with him. I've heard of him though.
He told me one time, probably one of the funniest guys I've ever worked with. He told me one time that he ran beads, I forget, 30-inch or 36-inch or something, and he wore tennis shoes and he walked to the top of the pipe. He ran tops. I think he said there were three bead hands. Have you
Yeah,
experienced stuff like that running beads? Have you ever? Is that
I
a
haven't. I've just always had two beat, just one on each side. I've never got in
done a
that.
three or four
I
bead
have.
hand situation?
I haven't.
But you've heard of them, right? I'm sure
Yes. Uh-huh.
you've talked to.
Hmm.
I just thought every time I think about tennis shoes and welding, I think about Joe Brown. He's funnier than I'll get out. And he talked about walking on top of the pipe and running
Yeah,
tops all day.
that's
But
probably the truth. Back then it's just more fun. You can cut up more, and it's more like being at home out in your backyard working more. And now,
yeah,
a lot more people out there keeping more eyes on you.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so with that being said, how do you think pipeline contractors could improve nowadays? Like, is there anything you see that they can improve on when it comes to leadership or communication to like make the job better? But because I personally don't have a problem with the safety because there's more, but there's also
Right.
other things about pipeline jobs that I've experienced that with what I've learned, well, just what I've learned since I've evaluated a lot of like pipeline companies and I'm trying to build a business myself here at home. And I've worked for good pipeline contractors and good people before, and I've always wondered like what makes this a good company to work for? Why is this better than, you know what I mean? And so I'm wondering the pipeline contractors that you and I have worked for or that you've worked for that were like, they just felt unorganized, like or for whatever other reason that
I
you've drug
think
up on
that's
a
the
job.
most. I think that's the most important thing, really, is just being organized, working for someone that's organized and has plenty of equipment and tools, everything on hand. Uh, because a lot of places, we've been at, they don't have as much. It'd make the job go better. But overall, I mean, I don't really know if nothing. I mean, I could bring to the table that I can think of right off the top of my head.
Well,
Wages,
that's
for
how,
sure.
what do
Wages
you
is
mean?
really good. I think we can come up on those.
But I mean, just what you just said about organization, that's a, I mean,
That's the whole
being organized,
organization.
yeah, and supplying enough
Yes,
equipment and all the right
equipment, what
equipment.
have you.
That's, you say you don't have nothing. I think that's valid, more than valid. You know what I mean? I
That's
think
what
that's,
to me. That's
you know what
what
I mean?
makes a good job from a bad job. You got to have good leadership, like you said, with where you can talk and communicate, and it goes through down the chain. You also got to have all this stuff. When you put all that together, got some good welders, high speed, go get it guys. You will lay some pipe.
Yeah, absolutely. As well as all the other crews, you know what I mean? Like good help in
Hmm.
all the
Yeah.
situations,
Hmm.
Yeah. Experienced, get along good,
Yep.
communicate good to where everything's just clicking and then you're having fun. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Have
Get some.
fun making
Yeah.
progress. What do you think pipeline welders and helpers could improve on nowadays from the jobs you've been on in the last 10 years, especially the last 5 years? Like, what do you think we could improve on?
I don't know. We can all got room for improvement, that's for sure. I don't really know. Everybody seems to get out and work, like normal. Since I don't really know, Austin, on that question.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. again, I've done a lot of self-evaluating over the years, and
Yeah,
I know that I could have been you know what I mean? I could have been a better, not had attitude at times, you know what I mean? So
okay,
I don't want to just point the finger or, you know what I mean, just ask the contractor what they could do better. I like, you know what I mean, looking at
right,
myself and
exactly.
being like, what could I do better to add more value to the contractor? You know what I mean? What can I do
Yeah,
better? Because that all goes hand in hand with
yes,
better
it does.
wages and, you know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep.
We'll go ahead and try to wrap this up. It's been about an hour. What was your last pipeline job you worked, your latest pipeline job you worked, and do you plan on pipeline again?
Uh, the last job I worked with Troy last spring on the 36 inch and 24 inch out by Odessa. And I'll probably, yeah, I'm gonna go out, and I'm not gonna do it as much. But when I get slowed up a little bit at school, if we, get a little slower, what have you, or want to take a little vacation, I might probably, I'll be back out there. I'll keep my hand into it, but not just as much. I'm afraid of losing my skill because you know how it is after you lay out for a while, and with my age also, I'm getting older. I'm not too old to pipeline for sure, but you lose that hand. You're already losing eyesight, just getting older in general. And if I don't keep my hand in a little bit, I know I'm gonna lose it, and I just can't let it all go yet. You know what I'm saying? I ain't done yet, but I won't be doing it as much. But I'll still go out and hit a lick here and there.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's something I've struggled with last
Yeah,
because
that's the hard part.
I hadn't pipelined in like 5 years, and it bothers me because
Yeah,
I don't have near experience you do, but I mean 8 years, but I felt like I was just getting started. You know, some people hear eight
yeah,
years and like, oh, that's quite a while. Yeah, it is, and I learned a lot in that time, but like I literally felt like I was just getting started. Like I got
yeah,
so much, and so the fact that I'm not out there, I feel like I done enough to feel a lot more confident than I used to, like going to take a test. You know, what I mean,
yeah,
you know how you get that. Uh, that's actually a question I should have asked you. Like, do you remember a time where there was like in your welding career where you felt where you went from like more nervous days on test day into like, and not only on test day, but like in everyday welding, where at some point after a certain amount of years, you kind of looked back and you kind of realized whether that was somebody younger on the job or whatever, that you were like, oh, like, wow, I've come a long ways. You know what I mean? Like there's like a step, there's like an experience level that you feel.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember what about
When
how many
you
years?
now this was in the single hand
Yeah.
when I single handed, it was probably about 4 or 5 years, probably around 4 years, probably 3 4 years, something like that.
Was it a test that you took, or was it somebody coming
Yeah.
on the job and you kind of just seen that, oh wow, like you know what I mean? I'm
Well,
a little quicker than him, and you just didn't realize until like, was there a certain moment that you remembered that,
yeah.
or
The When I worked on that first job, there was a man that he helped me very much, and the field welds I couldn't make, he would make for me. He helped me, and he really helped. He was a good man. When I left that job, I never seen him again. I went back to that job again like a year later or something, but I never seen him again. And I went and tested when they was building a super collider down there in Texas, and he was there testing that same day. And anyhow, that day we tested, I made my test and he didn't. And that guy's a good welder. And I knew that I was as good as him at that time. That guy's a good welder. And to me, that just kind of stamped on me. I hated to see him bust his test. That wasn't nothing to do with it. It would just seem
sure,
where I had come from. This guy had to make welds for me, and I made my test. And that's when it really sunk in on me.
it was like like there's a lot of confidence feelings there, like you know what I mean, that like you've made some progress in your
Yeah,
experience because you don't the years before that you don't even realize what you're doing. You know what I mean?
right.
I didn't
I
realize,
didn't either.
all the experience I was getting until I come home and well, in 2019, my last pipeline job, and I was helping a buddy build some pipe fence, and we had a whole bunch of 4 rail, 2 3/8, I think, to weld out. And he's a great fabricator. He just never downhilled, and I was welding
Uh-huh.
with 532 8010, and he come up and was like, "Dang, those welds look good." And I was like I didn't even think nothing of it.
Yeah.
And so then ever since then I was evaluating like everything I was doing. My because of pipeline, you know, you can relate to this. You're you form systems with your body, and you because of the repetitiveness, you learn to like never waste a move essentially, and that
Right.
just gets better and better. And now I'm speaking out of my experience, but I know you know what I'm talking about because I'm sure it compounds
Yeah.
after 30 years like yourself, you know what I mean? Like, but just in 8 years, I got some of that. So that feels good to know that like that I have that, but
Yeah.
all that to say is I know the feeling of wanting to go back out at some point so you don't lose it. I know what you're
Right.
talking about.
It seems like you're giving everything, you're throwing it all away, and it's a long road to walk,
Yeah.
and to give up. But
Well, that's exciting. You'll have to tell Danny I said hi. And
I will.
how's how's Gabe getting along? Is he still when does he graduate?
He graduates. He likes. It'll be next Friday. Will be his last day.
Really? How's he doing? How's he
He's doing
welding
good.
wise? I mean,
Yeah, he's doing good. It's gonna take him a little bit to. He's 18. You know what I mean? I know he gets down. Probably because it's hard trying to place him a job. You know what I mean? We've been kind of trying to, but when you're 18, you're 18. You know what I mean? But he don't understand how far he is ahead of most 18-year-olds. You see what I'm saying?
yes, yes, I do. Yes. And
He can
that's
he can already run beads. He's doing pretty good. He needs some experience. He needs to get out and he's learned enough that he can go out if he make his test, just learn, go from there. You see what I'm saying? Clean up out there when he gets out there, like
yeah,
we
he's
all did. It's just doing it over and over and over. Anybody can do it if they stay at it and don't give up. If that's what they want to do, I'm living proof of it. I
I
had a hard time too. Let me tell you guys, it wasn't easy. I'm kind of a slow learner.
I couldn't agree more. That's one of the like through having a YouTube channel and teaching and trying to describe things because I've evaluated a lot of that learning as well, like you're talking about, and trying to explain that is hard. But I like how you just explained it. You know, he needs experience, but you can only get so much experience in welding school. But look
Yeah,
at, you know, what you have gained. Like that's important to
yeah,
look back and see. You know
uh-huh,
what I mean? Like you just gotta. It's always a. I'm learning that about life. It's literally like it's hard to stay right here with
yeah,
gratitude and like wanting to get better. You know what I mean? But it's
yeah,
you really do need that gratitude and that reflective aspect. You know what I mean? Or else
uh-huh,
it's hard to move forward with any kind
yeah,
of confidence. But
mm-hmm,
anyway, that's cool. That's cool. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's got
yeah,
a solid instructor teaching him. So
yeah.
anyway, Peanut, I'm gonna let you go, but I greatly appreciate you joining us and
Hey,
sharing.
me too. And man, if you ever need anything or some, holler at me.
I will definitely do it. And y'all have a good evening and be careful out there at school.
All right, man. We'll see you later, Austin.
All right, Peanut, we'll see you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.